did this thing, and I did the whole thing, and it seemed to be going okay, and then with no reaction from anybody, and I was like, I could become, you know, a cab driver. That might be good. And then, you know, it turned out that they really loved it, and the show was going well, and Jillian and I really connected throughout the rest of that episode, and I had a lot of fun working with her. And I thought about it, and then I thought, you know, she really sits very tight on herself, and that's probably why that show works so well, because when we approach something, we approach it, the audience, our culture has a rational point of view of the world. And she upheld this kind of rationality throughout that show. Was really hard, she held on to it. And I think it's what made it work. A silence fall.
Hi, I love Piner, I love Chucky, I've seen many movies that you were in, but one thing that you've done that really sticks out to me is, maybe not a lot of people have seen it, but The Exorcist III. Yeah! That scene, just the one part of it, just is like the one-man highlight reel of like everything I've seen for you. The tear and everything when you're just like going crazy in the cell. What kind of inspiration did you pull to really pull that scene off? Like, where were you at? It was great.
Well, I did the movie we shot it in North Carolina. It used to be in Wilmington, North Carolina. They shot a lot of movies. The first one that I did went really well. The second one, they brought me in because it didn't work at all. And I looked at it, and oh boy, it was, because I never watch my stuff, and they fucking made me sit there and watch it. And I really hated it. And the next, Blatty and I were like, I was trying to get Blatty to cut stuff, and finally, George came up to me and said, you know, he said, this guy's got you really fucked up, man. He said, everything you're doing is like it's the most important thing. He said, pick what's important and throw the rest of it away. And I went, duh. And so I did that, you know, I mean, I forgot how to act, is what had happened. And you know, I did it, and it worked great. And then, as you know, no one in Hollywood really cares about how good anything is. It's all about demographics and so forth. So I got invited to lunch and was told that I was no longer in the movie. Yeah. And they were getting, Jason Miller back to do it. They were going to reshoot and get him back. Well, Jason Miller, whether you know it or not, was a terrible alcoholic. And the reason why Blatty didn't cast him, because he was friends with him, was because he knew he couldn't do it. So they bring him back, and lo and behold, he couldn't do it. But now the set's changed, because they decided, the other thing of the demographics people decided was that it needed an exorcism. So they kind of write in this stupid exorcism, and they bring me back, and I have to redo the whole thing. And I have to do it like the day after tomorrow, and I said, well, you're going to give me a hotel room and a slave. And that means a PA. And we're just going to run, I'm going to run lines with them, because it's like, each scene is 20 minutes. There are two of them, and each one is 20 minutes. They get cut. That's what they are originally to do. And so we did them, and that's what you see, but it's a shame because the originals were, I think, better.
Thank you.
What was the question?
scene, I just wanted to know, like, what was your inspiration on that particular scene? Because that's like my number one thing that you've done to me personally.
It was, I guess, an expression of how isolating pain is.
Thank you.
Alright, I'm a huge Chucky fan. I love all the Child's Play movies. Okay, so what's your favorite Chucky kill in old Chucky?
I would ask.
Good question.
Well, first of all, I don't get to do it. The dog does it. I guess killing the teacher.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about paper. I wish you'd say the quote.
There's just a lot of nodding going on there. You can't see what I'm seeing. I'm having a moment at the moment.
Okay, next question.
Hi, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. How did you get into character, / your inspiration for when you played Grim at Wormtongue?
I guess I had a long talk with Fran and who was the other writer who worked with Fran? God, I forget her name. What? Philippa. Fran and Philippa. And we kind of went through it, and I retold the story in a kind of a personal, dramatic, just a personal way. We decided that here was this guy who was young and very ugly, and the type of person that other kids, the last person you wanted to be around. And he would really probably got picked on. And was smart. And really did have a capacity for empathy. And could see where people were coming from. And was be able to really get ahead of what was going to happen to him because he could read people very well. And what makes a better counselor and for a king than someone who can really figure out what people are going to do? Read people and know what people were going to do. So that's what he did. And he was great at it. And the king became very reliant on him. And he was almost a member of the family. But that was the one thing that he desperately wanted, was to really belong, and something that he could never have. And so there was this, this wizard who used that, and down this dark hole he went, and he wound up betraying the thing he loved. So that was how we told the story.
Two questions if possible. One, what was it like working with David Lynch?
And what was the other one?
Can we hear the Chucky laugh?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen.
Let's talk about David Lynch.
Do it.
I'm trying to figure out a good description of David Lynch. Okay, the first time I was teaching at Columbia University. I was teaching a course called Directing Actors. I was teaching a course on directing. And all my students were all in love with David Lynch, who I had never even heard of. And apparently they'd seen this movie Eraserhead. And they were absolutely blown away by this guy. And I got Dune. And they were all thrilled about it. And so I was like, wow. I mean, everybody was saying, tell David Lynch I love him. And so I kind of went, I went and Rafaela said, I'm going to introduce you to David. And I didn't know what to expect, but there was this really kind of very preppy looking guy with a, a sport coat, a blue sport coat, khaki pants, and I think a button-down blue shirt. And he sounded a bit like Peter Lorre from Philadelphia. And he said, hi, Brad. Let me ask you a question. How do you feel about actors having surgery done on them for their parts? And I just went white as a sheet. And I said, well, I think that's great as long as it isn't me.
That's great.
And it turned out that, I don't know, you know the Duke, who was played by Jurgen, what's his, Jurgen? Brock, yeah. Who I had seen in Das Boot, and who was wonderful. He had talked Jurgen into having his a hole put through his cheek so that they could put a tube in there for when the poison gas comes out of his tooth. Because otherwise he would have to have done the shot with mirrors or something. And Rafaela was desperately trying to figure out a way to get him not to do this. And I remember at one point, I mean, she was really doing it, and fun. I remember I was just sitting in the back someplace, and I saw them up front, and I was going, oh, why not? She said, no. And that was when they finally turned out they would not allow him to have a hole put in his cheek. But I would say he is, I mean, visually one of the freest thinker. The freest artist I ever met is Amanda Plummer. I mean, by no, but he is as an imaginer, a wild imaginer. There is no one else. Like he's a true surrealist. Extraordinary, brilliant guy. He can write, he can paint, he can do anything.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or you can make that the grand finale. And I have a serious acting question for you.
Okay, we'll go to the serious end.
I hope. 10 years ago, I had the honor of interviewing, I'm going to ask you about two people, basically. I had the honor of interviewing Louise Fletcher. And the one thing I loved about interviewing her is you can tell she really loves the craft and everything. And I'm just curious about your relationship through the years, because you were such antagonists with each other on screen. I'm just curious about your relationship, working relationship, if you've seen each other every couple of years for reunions.
I'm a terrible hermit. I mean, I don't go out, I don't go to parties, I don't have any fun at all. So no, I haven't seen Louise very much. When I do, I'm delighted to see her. And I do think she's a wonderful actress.
Yeah, she definitely loves the craft. The second person I have to ask you about, because this is Spooky Empire, working with Sir Christopher Lee for Lord of the Rings and
Okay, I'll tell you. You want a Christopher Lee story?
Yeah.
All right. Christopher Lee is first of all, he speaks 13 languages. It's just off the, I mean, I was doing foreign press with him. And this guy greeted every single person that came in their own language. And I felt like, I'm Brad Dourif from West Virginia. And, you don't have to ask me anything. David Carradine was working with him. And Christopher talks a lot. And he doesn't feel any compunction about telling you all the stuff that he's done. You know, oh, I knew Tolkien. Oh yes, I was special agent in World War II. Oh, I knew them, and anybody you mention, he knows them. And you know, he's actually the best swordsman in England, and you know, David really does know martial arts, and David was he was following around talking to David, and David was learning trying to teach him how to throw a knife. So he was like throwing his knife, and Christopher came up and said, "Oh no, I can hit anything." And David had enough. So he looked at him and said, "Show me." He said, "Oh, of course." And he went over and he picked up a rusty nail. And you know a dartboard? You know the center little hole? No one can hit that, right? He marked off 20 paces and he went, bullseye. Oh God, he did win World War II. He does know everybody on planet Earth. You know, and I am your humble servant. And, yeah.
Thank you very much. That was great.